South Korean President Moon Jae-in has been accorded the red carpet welcome after he landed in North Korean capital Pyongyang for his third summit with Kim Jong-un. Moon Jae-in seeks to reboot stalled nuclear talks between North Korea and the United States. Moon's visits to Pyongyang comes at a time when the US and North Korea are at loggerheads over the denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. Now, this will be Moon's third meeting with Kim Jong-un and the first visit by a South Korean leader to North Korea in 11 years. The US ambassador to the United Nations, Nikki Haley, has accused Russia of cheating on UN sanctions on North Korea and said that Washington has evidence of consistent and wide-ranging Russian violations. Haley told the UN Security Council that Russia was helping North Korea illegally obtain fuel through transfers at sea. The showdown between the United States and Russia over North Korea publicly showed cracks in the unity of the 15-member UN Security Council, which has unanimously boosted sanctions since 2006 in a bid to choke off funding for Pyongyang's nuclear and ballistic missile programs. The leaders of Turkey and Russia have said that they had agreed to create a demilitarized buffer zone in Syria's Idlib province to separate Syrian government forces from the rebel troops, with Turkish and Russian soldiers patrolling the zone to ensure it's respected. Russian President Vladimir Putin said the agreement was that all heavy weapons be withdrawn from the zone and that radically minded rebels, including the al-Nusra Front, would have to pull out of the zone. The demilitarized zone will come into force by the 15th of October. Syria has said that it is determined to liberate rebel-held Idlib from the terrorist groups, including the Jabhat al-Nusra, which is classified by the UN Security Council as a terrorist entity. Syria's ambassador to the United Nations also said that Damascus will reinstate government rule over the city in response to the wish of people who are in need of protection from the crimes of the terrorists. The envoy also said that Syria fully denies allegations about the responsibility of the Syrian government when it comes to using chemical weapons. The Ukraine has condemned a new Russia report on the downing of Malaysia Airlines flight MH17, calling it a dirty fake which aims to conceal those truly responsible for the July 2014 tragedy. Russia's defense ministry on Monday said it had evidence that the missile which took down the aircraft over the eastern Ukraine and killed all 298 passengers on board belonged to the Ukraine. The ministry presented what it said were registry books that indicated that the same missile was transferred to the territory of the Ukrainian Soviet Republic in December of 1986. Top White House economic advisor Larry Kudlow has said the United States is ready to negotiate a trade deal with China whenever Beijing is prepared for serious talks that will reduce tariffs and eliminate non-tariff trade barriers. Kudlow, speaking as the Economic Club of New York, said China's economic reforms were moving in the wrong direction and that he expected the United States would soon announce tariffs on an additional $200 billion worth of Chinese goods. According to reports, the tariff level will probably be about 10%. Storm Florence has killed at least 19 people in the Carolinas. The slow-moving hurricane has dumped up to 36 inches of rain on the state since Thursday, displacing thousands. The flooding could persist for several weeks in some areas. The coastal city of Wilmington remained cut off by floodwaters from the Cape Fear River. Florence was headed through Virginia and towards New England, and flash flood watches extended from Maryland through New York and southern New England. Hundreds of Russian Communist Party supporters took to the central square of Vladivostok to protest against what they said was the rigging of a regional election in favor of a politician backed by President Vladimir Putin. With 95% of votes counted, Kremlin-backed United Russia incumbent was trailing his communist rival by around 5%. But on Monday, the local election commission said pro-Putin candidate had won by just over 1%. Meanwhile, the head of the Central Election Commission said a special commission has been sent to investigate the allegations. White House senior advisor Kellyanne Conway has said that the woman who alleges that Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh sexually assaulted her 36 years ago should testify in public, as should the nominee. Kavanaugh, President Donald Trump's U.S. Supreme Court pick, has called the woman's allegation completely false. Meanwhile, all 10 Democratic members of Senate Judiciary Committee overseeing the confirmation process sent a letter calling for Thursday's planned vote to be delayed so the FBI can investigate the allegation. Former UK Foreign Secretary, Boris Johnson, has said the newspaper reports of Brussels proposing a technical fix to the issue of the Irish border could allow for a breakthrough on reaching a Brexit deal. A British newspaper had reported that the EU's chief negotiator, Michel Barnier, is working on a new protocol text outlining how to use technology to minimize checks on the border. Speaking outside his Oxfordshire home, Johnson said failing to achieve a proper Brexit would be a bit of a political disaster. German Chancellor Angela Merkel has decided that Germany's domestic intelligence agency chief must go, as she thinks he has meddled in day-to-day politics, a newspaper reported on Monday. But she said she had nothing to add to comments she made last week. The chief of Germany's domestic intelligence agency has come under fire after he cast doubts on the authenticity of video footage showing far-right protesters chasing migrants after the fatal stabbing of a German man. The coalition partners are due to meet on Tuesday to discuss spy chief's future. A volcano in France's Reunion Island erupted for the fourth time this year, drawing spectators who trek to watch lava flowing on the surface. The eruptions started on Saturday early morning. After walking about 6 kilometers and braving night temperatures, hikers were treated to a spectacle of lava fountains, some spurting as high as 30 meters. One of the most active volcanoes in the world and a tourist attraction on the island, the Piton de la Volcano rises to 2,000 meters. President Rodrigo Duterte of the Philippines has repeated his call to shut all mines in the country following deadly landslides. His comments come 2 days after a powerful typhoon slammed into the northern Philippines. Duterte has often criticized the mining industry, saying the environment damage far outweighs any benefits to the economy. His latest comments followed an order earlier by Environment and Natural Resources Secretary to stop all small-scale mining in the Cordillera region, where landslides killed 24 people. Casinos open again in Macau after Super Typhoon Mangkhut skirted south of the gambling hub and neighboring Hong Kong. This time, the authorities in Macau were much more prepared, ordering casinos to close late on Saturday night as the storm approached. Macau gambling stocks were down in early Monday trade as authorities were still struggling to restore power to some of the 20,000 households that have suffered power cuts. Nigeria's Emergency and Disasters Agency has said that the flooding across 10 states has killed at least 100 people. The flooding in central and southern parts of the country has forced thousands to leave their homes. The federal government has taken over search and rescue operations and rehabilitation of victims in the worst hit states, which are in central and southern parts of the country. Some of the worst flooding over 2 weeks was in Lokoja, which lies at the confluence of the two rivers. The International Criminal Court, or the ICC, has sentenced a Congolese politician, J.P. Bemba, to 12 months sentence for witness tampering, but his sentence was reduced to 0 due to time already served. Bemba was acquitted of war crimes on appeal in June but had already been convicted on the lesser charge of witness tampering during his trial. Bemba has been barred from standing in December's presidential election in Democratic Republic of the Congo because of the conviction. Protests demanding the arrest of Bishop Franco Mulekal, who is accused of sexually assaulting a nun, have intensified on the 10th day. On Monday in Kerala's Kochi city of the state, a protest was also staged in Thiruvananthapuram to demand Bishop's arrest. In June this year, a nun had complained that the bishop had allegedly raped her 13 times over a period of 2 years. The nun in a letter said that she wanted the Vatican to intervene. She said she was forced to make matters public after several attempts to seek justice from within the church failed. Police in Rameshwaram city of Tamil Nadu have seized 150 kilograms of endangered sea cucumbers along with a boat. The marine police of the coastal security group, who was out on the sea on a regular patrolling in Mandapam area, found the marine animal packed in several sacks. They were found across the world, and many species of sea cucumbers are used for consumption and cultivation. A forest officer said that the seized sea cucumbers will be handed over to Wildlife Range in Mandapam. A 5-day Buddhist festival celebrated to honor Saint Naropa has begun in Jammu and Kashmir's Ladakh region. Hundreds of people gathered at the Naro Photang Hemis to take part in the 1,000-year-old celebrations, where colorful cultural performances showcase the rich tradition of the local people. The festival celebrates the life of Indian Saint Naropa, whose teachings are considered to be the core of Buddhism. Around 50 tortoises of several rare species were rescued by Railway Police Force from a train in Aligarh city. The animals were found by one of the passengers travelling in the Howrah-Kalka mail, who then informed the authorities about it. The tortoises were rescued by the authorities and are kept safe before handing them over to the Forest Department. Besides slaughtering for meat, tortoises are also used in the formulation of certain traditional medicines. Home Minister Rajnath Singh has inaugurated smart fences that would be installed along the India-Pakistan border in an attempt to strengthen security along frontiers. A first in India, the smart fences are being built under the Comprehensive Integrated Border Management System in northern Jammu. The project under CIBMS is meant to be one of the many high-tech, state-of-the-art surveillance technologies to be incorporated. The fence project includes infrared and laser beam-based intruder alarms, thermal imagers, advanced aerial surveillance and ground sensors, to name a few.